I had the pleasure of chatting with Ayódele, whose powerful message about self-discovery and overcoming personal limitations truly resonated with me. In our heartfelt conversation, we dive deep into her journey towards self-discovery, growing up with clinical depression, and uncovering the importance of self-acceptance in transforming her life. In this powerful episode, we discussed 3 important points. Point number 1, the myth of overnight success and the importance of consistency and self-belief when pursuing self-employment. Point number 2, Ayódele's journey to self-discovery and gaining confidence, including her experience with clinical depression and accepting that she was unwell rather than believing she was a bad person. And lastly, point number 3, the essential steps for recognizing personal problems that require attention and the life-changing power of forgiveness and self-acceptance. I can assure you that Ayódele's openness about her struggles with depression and her path to self-acceptance will leave you inspired to embark on your own journey of self-discovery. And so don't miss out on this incredible episode filled with insights on building confidence, identifying life imbalances, and embracing the gifts you have to offer the world. It's time to tune in now to the Self-Employed Success podcast and hear from Ayódele herself.
A lot of people think that it's an overnight success. And I think that's a misconception because there's so much work that goes on in the background before things actually start to blossom and bloom in the way that you want them to. And so I think one of the things that's really important for people who are, branching into becoming self-employed or on the cusp and are waiting for it to happen is that the really important thing is consistency. It's really important to just keep going. If you feel that you've got something that you want to share with the world, that you've got gifts that the world needs and that you are the person that can provide those gifts, and it's through the venture of being self-employed that's going to help you to put those things out into the world, whatever they are, I think it's really important to remain consistent, really believe in the thing that you offer, and just know that it may not take 6 months, it may not take a year, it may take a little bit longer than that. It could take, 5 years to get to where it is that you want to be. But if you really believe in what you bring to the table and what you have to offer, I think that you are doing your people a disservice by not remaining consistent and not keeping going, and just believe that it's going to happen for you. And I think one of the most important things that we often tend to forget is that the beliefs that we hold about ourselves and the belief that we hold about our abilities and our belief that we hold about our ability to be successful can either rocket propel us and skyrocket us forward, or they can hold us back. So we have to really believe that it's possible for us.
You are listening to the Self-Employed Success podcast. This is your source for inspiration, advice, and strategies for building financial independence without a traditional corporate job. Each episode features interviews with successful entrepreneurs, freelancers, and business owners who have achieved financial freedom through self-employment. Whether you're just starting out on your entrepreneurial journey or you're a seasoned pro looking for new ideas, this podcast will give you the tools and insights you need to create a life and business that you love. Join us as we explore the world of self-employment and learn how to build the income, the freedom, and fulfillment you deserve. Welcome to the show, Ayódele. I'm so excited to have you. You have no idea. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's so wonderful to be here.
And so for you listening, just so you know, this is why I'm so passionate and obsessed with social media, because I've always embraced and continue to do so and invite you to do the same, to embrace the part of social in social media. Ayódele and I met through social media, right? And I fell in love with her message. I fell in love with her content, and I continue to consume her wonderful work every single day when she shows up on my feed. And I'm super honored and excited that you're tuned in to hear her work through this episode, because she's talking about something that I believe is absolutely essential, whether you are secretly looking into diving into the self-employment full-time journey, or you're in the trenches already and you're needed that motivation and wanting insights and resources to continue to succeed. And so before we dive into how to do just that, and Ayódele is here to support us in understanding how to, overcome those limiting beliefs and ensure that we continue to achieve our goals every single day. I always ask this to all of my guests that come on Ayódele, is to share their story, because you and I both know we did not wake up this morning and became who we are today. And we don't even know what we're going to be tomorrow. But the good news is we have started our journey and we continue to invest in it. And so we want to hear your story so you can inspire us and really give us the comfort that we are in the right place and we are doing the right things and we are listening and connecting to the right people to continue to succeed. And so tell us your story. How did you come about becoming this wonderful, powerful woman? And can I just say, with the beautiful red lipstick, let me tell you, that's like my cue. Every time I see the red lipstick, I'm like, this is her. She's on. And talk about confidence. Listen, whenever I'm like lacking it, I'm like, where's my red lipstick? Because I usually got this. She got this. And so share with us, because I know you did not wake up yesterday and started wearing your red lipstick and showing up confidently on social media. So walk us through, how did you get here? And we'll dive in helping the audience to do the same.
Thank you so much for asking such a beautiful question and for your beautiful compliments. It means a lot to me. I really appreciate it. And the story that I'm going to share with you, I really want to use it to inspire people to realize that no matter where they are in their journey, being successful at being self-employed is possible for you. Because like you said, Martine, it didn't just start where we are now. There's a journey and there's a real trajectory that has to happen in order for you to get to this place of being successful. And each and every single one of us has a story. And, in thinking about this response to this question, I'm just wondering, where do I start? Do I go all the way back to the beginning? Because it's been a long journey. And I believe the most inspirational aspects that I can share is kind of sharing perhaps some elements of my childhood and my former years, so that you can really understand that I didn't wake up with the confidence that I have today. And I came from a childhood and a background where I really experienced a lot of traumatic experiences in my childhood. I've had a very painful childhood and actually experienced clinical depression from at least the age of 5. But I didn't actually know that it was clinical depression until I was about 22. And I'm not sure how deep I should go into this, but I just believe in being really authentic and really aligned with the message, because there's going to be somebody out there that needs to hear what I have to say. And so I don't want to kind of sugarcoat anything. So is it okay for me to just be as raw and as vulnerable as I want to? I hope it is. So basically, when I was about 22, I was deeply suicidal. And I was really tormented with, really quite dark thoughts all of the time. But it was at the time when I was at university and I was actually writing my undergraduate thesis and researching for it. And I was reading a piece of research, and there was this checklist in this piece of research, which were indicators of people who are experiencing clinical depression. And as I was reading through this list, I was like, yeah, that's me. Check. Yeah, that's me. And every single one of those items on that list were ones that resonated with me very, very deeply. So it was like this light bulb moment. And I realized that the way that I was feeling and had felt for as long as I could remember was actually because I was clinically depressed. It was not because I was a bad person, which is what I had grown up believing. I believed that I felt as bad as I did for as long as I had because I was a bad person. I was being punished for being a bad person. So accepting and really understanding that it was actually, I was unwell. that was the reason why I felt the way that I did. While that was challenging to accept, there were so many things that just made sense. It was like a domino effect. All the pieces of the puzzle started to fit into place. And so from there, I spoke to my mum about how I was feeling, and there were certain things that were put into place to help and support me. And I was made to, be on medication, which, is a whole journey in itself, which I was against at the time. But the medication did help to balance out the imbalances that I was experiencing. But I was on medication for about 8 years. And it was that point of intervention that helped me to decide that I wanted to fix what had felt so inherently broken inside me for as long as I could remember. That part of my story kind of led me on this real deep dive into self-discovery, really wanting to really understand who I was as a human being, and trying lots and lots of different techniques and strategies and ideas to just try and stop the hurt that I was feeling on a daily basis. So that was a real pivotal moment in my story. And I think perhaps one of the other pivotal moments was becoming a mother and realizing that if this was, some years later on, but realizing that if I didn't change my patterns of dysfunction that I learned as a child due to the programming that I received, I was just going to repeat them. And I was going to pass those patterns of dysfunction down to my daughter, which was something that I was just completely against. So that was one of the other catalysts which really helped me to embark on this journey of healing and transformation. But I did a number of things over the years from when I was 22 and discovered that it was clinical depression, and, from detoxing my whole body for like 2 years, I did a detox, and I only consumed, I didn't consume any sugar, alcohol, yeast. I had a very, very minimalistic diet for 2 years to just cleanse my body. I was able then to come off the antidepressants, obviously with medical guidance, and then took a real deep dive into healing my inner child, reparenting myself, did some therapy, and then did all the meditation, yoga, really entrenched myself into spiritual practices. And journaling was played a huge part in my story and my journey. All of these things, all of the things that I've mentioned, really played an intrinsic part in my healing and led me, I believe, on a path to the last thing that I really just dove into. And I think it was actually possibly the biggest thing and the most profound and lasting element of change for me as a human being. And it was the point at which everything in my life really transformed. And that was learning and diving into the study and teaching of the combination of NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, which is the study of excellence and how thinking creates our behavior and then allows us to create behavior of excellence. There's also timeline therapy, which is a therapeutic intervention helping you to release trauma and pain from the past. And then hypnotherapy, which is an ancient science, which helps us to communicate with our unconscious mind and make profound and rapid changes at the unconscious level. And it was learning to use these three modalities with myself and with other people, and also being on the receiving end of those therapeutic interventions that helped me to really heal at the deepest level. So, coming off antidepressants, coming off sleep medication that I was addicted to for 4 years. There were so many things in my childhood that happened that I was really able to heal from, that helped me to blossom and bloom into this human being that really had a mission and a passion to help other people. But Martine, I knew that I couldn't help other people until I had helped myself. I knew that I needed to get to a stage in my healing journey before I was able to be a conduit of light and of healing and transformation for other people. And I couldn't do that until I'd gotten there. So that, in a nutshell, is kind of how I got from where I was, from having an incredibly traumatic childhood and adolescence and adulthood, to being where I am today. I hope that kind of gives you a bit of an insight.
It absolutely does. And thank you so much for taking the time to walk us through. So inspiring, I have to tell you. And, you broke it up for us in a way where I know I was taking notes of all the different techniques, right? That you suggest that you did, the yoga, the detoxing, the cleansing, and you dived into how important journaling could be in fixing, your yourself and truly diving into that self-discovery journey of yours. But what I'd like to do is go to the top of that journey and focus there and help us with those two thoughts here that I'm going to share as far as, and you mentioned that you identified that there was a problem. You had a hard time accepting that, this is my situation, but yet you went to your mom and started your journey from that point on. And then you were able to find all those techniques along the way, along the years to implement, right? And so let's talk about the two parts before starting the techniques to fix. How would you say one should realize that there's a problem? Because sometimes, we as individuals, we kind of want to ignore that we have a problem. And what are some of the triggers you would say, maybe one or two or three that you say would help us identify that we actually have a bit of, there's a problem here? And then how do you suggest that we go about accepting? Because it's one thing to identify. It's a second thing to say, oh my gosh, this is me. And it's a third thing to say, I accept this and I want to fix it. Right. And so again, my question to you is, how do we identify? Because we may not know. What are some of the questions we may want to ask ourselves? Is this a way we feel in the morning or whatever it is that should trigger us to say something's wrong? And two, what are some of the ways you would suggest one to go about finding ways to get, the process of accepting that there's a problem so that we can start the journey of opening the door of implementing all those techniques that you shared to help us fix the issue?
Really beautiful questions. And in terms of identifying whether there's a problem, I think that is such a subjective experience. It's such an individual thing. And I think the most important thing for us to identify is how I'm showing up in my life impacting on any area of my life in a negative way? Is the version of myself that I present to the world, is it the true version of myself that I really want to be? Or are there things about the way that I show up that could do with some attention? Because if what you're doing is working, then there is, one of my favorite sayings is it isn't a problem unless it's a problem. And even if other people see it as a problem, it may not be a problem for your life. You may be quite happy continuing doing the things that you're doing. Obviously, if it's impacting on people in a significantly negative way, then that's a different story. But other people have their opinions. It's about how you feel about the way you show up in your life and whether the things that you're experiencing are impacting on your ability to show up in your business, your ability to be a parent, your ability to be a spouse, your ability to be a friend, your ability to be the best version for yourself. Are the ways that you're showing up in your life for all of those different aspects, do they create problems? And are there ways that I would prefer that I was able to show up differently? I think if you are able to answer those two questions, and if either of the answers to those questions are yes, then it's perhaps time to do some of the inner work. It's time to start digging down and really identifying, okay, so in what ways would I like to show up differently? What are the things that I would like to work on myself? Whether it's with the support of another individual or whether it's with, doing the self-discovery work like I explained that I did, which I think is a really key and important step that helps you to understand and really get to know yourself on a very, very deep level. So, either with somebody else or with yourself. And then you really, really identify, okay, so what is it that I want to change? I think that's the answer to the first question. And obviously, when I've answered the second question, perhaps if you want to, you've got some other questions, then I'm happy to go in deeper. In terms of acceptance, I think that can be one of the most powerful ways of moving your life forward, and perhaps even letting go of some of the pain that has kept you stuck in those unresourceful behaviors. I think it was a video on my social media. I think I posted it yesterday. So it's actually, I love this. I love the way synchronicity works. And I mentioned, maybe it was the day before yesterday, but I mentioned that one of the keys to healing is forgiveness, and forgiveness requires acceptance. In order to move forward, in order to make positive changes in our lives, we have to do a number of different things. One of those things is forgiveness. In order to forgive, we have to accept. We have to accept the things that we've done. We have to accept that we want to change. We have to accept that we want to show up differently for ourselves. And I think all of those things come along with this aspect of self-discovery, which is why I think that diving deeply into yourself and getting to know yourself at those deep levels is such an important part, because with it, in tandem, it's just one of the things that just happens organically, is that acceptance. I don't think that you can do that without just accepting that, okay, this is how I am. I think a key part to acceptance is saying, okay, this is who I am and this is how I show up. What can I do about it? You don't have to accept it and say, okay, this is who I am and this is how I'm going to stay, because that is never the case. There is always something you can do to change the programming, the patterns, the dysfunction, the behaviors, the habits. I don't believe that there is any habit or behavior that can't be changed with doing the neurological and also the work at the unconscious level. So I just want to send that message out, that anybody who feels that they're stuck and they've tried everything and they've gotten so far, they've seen some results, but they haven't gotten to where they want to be. Maybe it's that you haven't found the right technique. Maybe it's that you haven't found the right person to help you. So just understand that there is always something that can be done to help you to change the things that you would like to show up differently as doing. So I think acceptance is, yes, this is who I am. The next step of acceptance is, okay, what now? What can I do to change this? If I don't like it significantly enough for me to want to be different and show up as a different version of myself.
Absolutely powerful. I have goosebumps listening to you.
Oh.
Because, for me, I know personally it's been quite a journey. And for you listening, this is my belief, right? The self-discovery process to me is ongoing, because every version of our lives, every season requires a different version of us. But at the end of the day, I have to bring back what you shared, Ayódele, at the beginning of the conversation, where you said you knew that if you did not feel good and knew that you knew yourself enough, you wouldn't be able to be out there confidently serving all those people that you serve. And so the takeaway here is that, first of all, for you listening, you're here. And that means you've listened already a good 20 minutes. Okay. So you're invested. And that means to us that clearly this is a very important topic for you wherever you are in your season. And with that, I want to ensure that you know to check the show notes, and I'll bring that up again before we end this conversation, to ensure that you continue to invest in that calling that is telling you that it perhaps is time for you to invest time and energy in ironing out who that new version of you could be, or that better version of you could be. Okay. And so I just wanted to pause a little bit and congratulate you for listening thus far. And so again, I have goosebumps because I know for me, we all have those stories, right? For me personally, I witnessed my father shot when I was a teenager. He was murdered. And, I most recently got laid off from a six-figure corporate job, and I had to reinvent myself and find ways. And so this whole process, the techniques that you brought into this conversation today, Ayódele, are so strong. And I thank you for that. And for you listening, I know you want more. I know I want more. And let me tell you, when I follow Ayódele on Instagram, I told you in the beginning, I just enjoy watching her, listening to her messages. But I do want to find out from her so she can tell you where else can she serve you other than Instagram, because I know she's very active there, at least right now, right? But tell us more about how can we work with you? Where do we get started? It's a lot. Self-discovery is a big process. And you shared it before. You said, it depends of each individual. And I love that you said that, because we're all in different seasons and we're all different people and different backgrounds, but yet recognizing that is so vital in the success of our self-employment and the success of our professional lives and individual self. And so with that, I'm going to stop talking because I need to give you the mic so you could tell us how you can help us. So tell us what's in the show notes.
Thank you so much for giving me that opportunity. But before I answer the question, just wanted to say I'm so sorry to hear about your father. And, that must have been a really traumatic experience. And yes, we all are in different seasons. We're all individuals. We're all going through the process of becoming our best selves at different rates. And in terms of doing the work, in terms of, really creating that magical transformation that I know so many entrepreneurs, so many self-employed individuals want to see, because it's that limits them potentially from becoming the the grandest version in whatever it is that they want to do. And one of the things that I always say is that, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as people who are self-employed, our businesses, our enterprises are extensions of us as human beings. And I'm a very, very strong advocate of that. And if we are not operating at our optimum, if we are limited in some capacity, then so will the entity that we want to push out there into the world. And once we remove those limitations, we're able to skyrocket and, really propel that thing and push it forward out into the world and really get it in front of the people that need to see it and the want that are craving for that thing that you provide for the world. And in order to do that, sometimes you do have to do the deep, deep work. And that's what the work that I do looks like. It's the deep transformation. And there are a number of ways that we could work together. And one of my programs, the deepest program, the most powerful one that would provide the most significant transformation, is a personal mastery transformation program. And that's sort of like between a 3 and a 6 month program of working one-to-one with me. But then there are other, I have a self-hypnotherapy course that is available, which helps to teach you to actually help you make positive changes at the unconscious level yourself. And then I've also got a free healing from the past audio program that I recently created. And I can definitely provide the links to the information if people are interested in any of those aspects of the work that I provide. And you can leave those in the show notes for people. Is there anything that you wanted me to go into more, or is that significant information for you at the moment?
This is absolutely amazing, Ayódele. I'm very excited to have the audience tap into the resources that you have. I know personally, I downloaded your audio and it's
Yay.
amazing. I love it.
Oh,
I love it. It's
amazing.
about 27 minutes or so,
It
and
is, yeah.
it's so powerful. And I listen to it during my commute, and I invite you listening to access it. It's free. And while you're walking the dog, washing the dishes, or whatever it is that you're doing, just like what you're doing right now, listening to us, I absolutely encourage you to access it. You won't regret it. And I'm just so honored, honestly, that you do this work. So many people need it. With the world today, the way things are turning around, layoffs are happening left and right. People are questioning their next self. You are absolutely needed. And I want to encourage you, Idly, to continue to do the work that you do. And I want to also know you to know that you will be continuing to impact so many people. And so for you listening, I know you are excited as much as I am. I hope you are. You listened all the way till the end. Look at you. So proud of you. And this is where it starts, right? Your self-discovery process is by tapping into amazing resources to help you along the way. Because like we said, we did not wake up like this yesterday. And so you got this. And Ayódele, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. You have no idea how excited and honored that I am that you took time off from your busy schedule to hang around.
You are so welcome, Martine. It has absolutely been an absolute pleasure spending time with you. Your energy is so vibrant and you're such a joy to spend time with. So thank you for having me, and to the listeners, thank you for listening. And I hope that you take something positive, you take something inspirational away from the conversation today, and realize that no matter where you are on your journey, it is for you. You can do it. And I think consistency and self-belief are absolutely crucial keys and crucial parts of this conversation to take away with you. So, Martine, thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
And there you have it, another amazing episode of the Self-Employed Success Podcast. You heard it from Ayódele. She is clear that you can identify where you are right now, and you can have the support and the resources to help you accept where you are and receive the techniques to help you in your discovery and be your best self and be an amazing entrepreneur and self-employed individual. But guess what? You cannot do this alone. And I want to invite you to check the show notes. I want you to click the links that are included, because this is important for you. It's important for the loved ones that you have around you. This is your calling, and you got this. And it's a journey. I say this all the time. If you don't believe me, listen to the next episode. I know you do. Leave us a review. Thank you so much for listening. I will be in your earbuds next week. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.